Part 102. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1011. Lu Ligan and his company decided after an emergency meeting that the sales price of all houses would be increased by 500 per square meter. While they were still having a meeting here, the sales office of the Sci-fi project kept calling Ying, saying that there were many people who wanted to buy houses. Most of the people who came to buy houses were units, with as few as 5 or 6 units, and as many as 10 or 20. Said Manager Ying, "Can you sell it?" the other end of the phone asked anxiously. Ying told them, "Don't worry, let them wait until I come. By the way, you can tell them that our houses have all been stopped for sale. I am now fighting for them in the company, hoping that they can continue to be sold. Did you hear that? You must tell your customers this." What Ying was thinking was that there were so many people at the sales office, and in the sales office, the unit price per square meter used to be posted there, but now it had increased by 500. She could only find this reason to go there. Only then can it be said. What she doesn't know is that in fact, these people who come to buy houses don't care at all. They are just anxious to buy a house. As for the money, it comes from the unit anyway, not the individual. Even if the area exceeds the prescribed area, the individual has to pay for the house. Payment is the same and has nothing to do with housing prices. For your 2,000 per square meter, I have to pay 600 per square meter, and for 5,000 per square meter, I have to pay the same amount. After getting this more expensive house, the house is even more valuable. The most important thing is that the houses of every real estate company in Hangzhou are now all the same, and everyone has collectively raised the price. Price increases are no longer unusual. Lu Ligan and Tan Shuhen also kept receiving calls. Most of the people who came to them were from powerful units, and they basically bought one building after another. No matter Lu Ligan, Tan Shuhen, and Ying, they were all shocked by the scene of buying a house like this. The news spreads too fast. Everyone knows that welfare housing allocation has been cancelled. Everyone also knows that national policies have been introduced and specific local measures have been introduced. There is such a window period in the middle, and everyone starts to race against time. If you can't catch up, you won't be able to get another house on this train. Those units that are still planning to build houses should quickly use the money to buy houses. The most embarrassing thing is for those units whose houses have already been built. Everyone is anxious and uneasy. They don't know if the policy will be issued when the houses are completed and the houses can no longer be divided. Wouldn't it be a joy in vain? Immediately afterwards, those who were planning to buy a house but were still hesitating also woke up and realized that splitting houses was a thing of the past. They quickly bought a house. The prices of houses everywhere in Hangzhou increased overnight. When the prices increased, people who bought them, there is still an endless stream of people, and if you don't buy it, you may not be able to buy a house. Lu Ligan's company, as the real estate company with the most projects under construction, and they can get mortgage loans, quickly became the center of everyone's attention. Projects on both sides of the Meisi River were being cleared quickly, and even the houses that were still on the drawing board were sold. Lu Ligan's self-restraint of not opening until ±0 soon became untenable. Not to mention the people who come to buy houses don't accept it, even the people at their sales offices don't accept it. Everyone has been holding back for too long. It's hard to catch such an opportunity. How can we not make a big sale? And for those units that come to buy a house, this is even more true. By the time you reach ±0, the provincial policies have been introduced long ago, and the daylilies have gone cold. Everyone starts trading after looking at the renderings and floor plans of the building. Anyway, the location on the Meisi River is not much different. As for the quality of your Jinxia company's house, if you want to be second in Hangzhou, no one would dare to say first. One of the 3 credit card machines at the sales office was quickly damaged. Every day the accountant went to the bank to pay a stack of checks. This is the case with the Sci-fi project, and the same is true with Splendid Westlake. Lao Wan and his people temporarily set up a sales office there and started selling houses. If you don't sell on site, people will find companies to buy them. Hangzhou, at every construction site in the city, everyone is looking for which company's house this is. In just over a week, all the houses in their Sci-fi project were sold out. Even Miss Cai was stunned when she heard the news. She had just been to Hangzhou a month ago. She knew how huge the projects on both sides of the Meisi River would be in total, but so many houses were actually sold out now. She doesn't understand what's going on with the mainland. The whole of Asia is still miserable. Is the mainland going to fly into the sky? There are only a dozen or so scattered houses left in the Splendid Westlake project. These dozen houses are all below the 10th floor, and most of them are shops. Contrary to the sales situation of these 2 projects, their Hangzhou Center project is still deserted. While the main building has not yet been launched for sale, one of the 2 office buildings has already been launched for sale, but because it is an office building, few people are interested. This wave of heat is all about residential buildings. But for Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen, it doesn't matter whether the office building is there or not. They have made too much money during this period and have ample funds in their accounts. They have used all the 500 million loans from ICBC. Already paid in advance. Are we going to have nothing to do next this year? Tan Shahen asked Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan smiled and said, aren't there 2 office buildings, the second phase of Peach Blossom Spring, and villas? The villas are also moving very fast, and it won't take long to sell, Tan Shahen said. Apart from these 2 office buildings, they really don't have any houses to sell. It's too early to leave Hangzhou City Center and Sky City, especially Sky City. They are now clinging to them. Have great confidence. They judged that after this wave of craze, the existing real estate in Hangzhou has basically been cleared, and news has spread that the land acquisition and storage system that Hangzhou has been trialing for 2 years will soon be rolled out throughout Hangzhou and implemented uniformly. All bidding, auctions and transfers have been stopped. In this way, there will definitely be a surge in land prices in Hangzhou. Mr. Han has long told Lu Ligan that all of these are beneficial to their city in the sky. Lu Ligan, Tan Shahen, and Zhang Chen were standing in the garden on the roof of the dynamic zone, looking at the construction site in the center of Hangzhou next door. Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen said, I have never felt like making money before, this time really, it made me feel like I was mad. Are you inflated? Zhang Chen said. Yes, it feels like an expansion, Lu Ligan admitted, it's so fierce that you don't even know if it's true. So many houses were sold in one day. Zhang Chen smiled and said, Tan Shahen, if I ask you to sell clothes now, will you still sell them? Tan Shahen thought for a moment, then said to Zhang Chen with a grimace, it doesn't seem possible. For a few hundred yuan to accompany a smiling face, I should not be able to smile anymore. With this habit of selling houses, the money seems to have become smaller. Zhang Chen nodded and said, that's because your face is too big. Your faces are all stretched out. Lu Ligan looked at the construction site next door and suddenly thought of something. Lao Meng, Lu Ligan shouted, isn't Lao Meng miserable now? Zhang Chen and Tan Shahen also thought about it. Since the hotspot this time is residential buildings, wouldn't it be true that Meng Ping's building, like Lu Ligan's office building, is also rarely interested in? When others were making a lot of money, Lao Meng didn't even drink the soup. Lu Ligan quickly took out his Nokia slide phone from his hip pocket and called Meng Ping. He was prepared to hear Meng Ping cry on the phone. Unexpectedly, as soon as the call came through, Meng Ping started laughing on the phone. Lao Meng, what are you happy about? Lu Ligan asked, puzzled. I was just about to call you. As of this afternoon, all the houses in my building except the shopping mall below have been sold out. Do you want me to be happy? Meng Ping asked rhetorically. Lu Ligan was surprised. Are your office buildings in Nanjing so easy to sell? What kind of office building? Who wants an office building? Meng Ping said. Lao Meng, isn't that building of yours an office building above? Lu Li asked curiously. Meng Ping said with a smile, I made the changes as soon as possible, and the office building became a commercial and residential building. Haha, this house was sold with a bang. Can you still do this? Whether you want to me or not, I'm sold out. Meng Ping continued to laugh. After hanging up the phone, Lu Ligan told Tan Shahen about the matter. Tan Shahen was shocked that this Lao Meng was really fast. What is faster than his movements is his brain. I saw this in Heiken, and I am ashamed of myself, Lu Ligan said. What about, let's change the relationship between our two buildings? Tan Shahen asked. Lu Ligan said yes, I will go tomorrow. These two office buildings were quickly sold after they were converted into commercial and residential buildings. People at that time did not know the difference between commercial and residential buildings and residential buildings. Anyway, as long as they could be lived in, they would be fine. In these two buildings, one floor was originally supposed to be reserved for them to use as their own offices, but they were all sold by Tan Shahen. Lu Ligan scolded, Are you crazy? You have sold them all. Our company has moved. Where are you going? You don't want to move to city in the sky, do you? Tan Shahen said with a smile, It's really possible, but now that I have a better place, even this place, I think I should vacate it and sublet it, so that I can reduce another expense. Lu Lizan looked at her and shook his head, thinking, this woman really gets stingy the richer she gets. Lu Ligan heard old Liu's voice coming from downstairs. Old Lu was asking others, Is Mr. Lu here? Lu Ligan hurriedly told Tan Shahen, quickly, go out and close the door of my office. If Lu wants to ask, just say I'm not here. Who knows what kind of messy people he brought here today. Tan Shahen laughed, but still stood up. She walked to the door and was about to close Lu Ligan's office door, but it was too late. Old Lu and others had already gone upstairs. Tan Shahen, why are you here? The people who followed Lao Lu called out curiously, and Tan Shahen quickly smiled and said, I work here, Director Zhang. Coming with Lao Lu was Director Zhang of the Yongcheng Xi Nanjiang hydropower plant. The hydropower plant is the richest unit in Yongcheng. Although they are directly under the jurisdiction of the Provincial Electric Power Bureau, they are on the same level as the Yongcheng County government and interact with each other. It doesn't matter, but if Yongcheng County wants to organize any activities, Commander Tang, who organizes the activities, will definitely go to them to sponsor them. As for Tan Shahen, as long as there are such activities, she will definitely be the protagonist in participating. Therefore, Director Zhang and Tan Shahen are also old acquaintances. There was no way to hide, so Lu Ligan had no choice but to stand up and walk out the door. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thank you Kandera and the Humor Tribe for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you a nice weekend. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1012. Director Zhang smiled and said, Tan Shahen, if I had known you were here, I would have come directly. We don't know Mr. Lu, and we are still looking for connections in Yongcheng to contact him. Others gave us Master Lu in Hangzhou. I just found the address. Tan Shahen smiled and said, very few people in Yongcheng know that I am here. Everyone sat down and Director Zhang hurriedly explained the purpose of his visit. It turned out that their hydropower plant bought a piece of land in the Binjiang district opposite the Qiantang River and built a dormitory area. Now, the house has just been built to the first floor. With such a policy, it is estimated that by the time their house is built, the provincial policy will have been issued long ago, and their house will not be divided. Because the house was built by the unit, the real estate certificate cannot be applied for until the project is completed and accepted. What you will receive is the unit's large real estate certificate. At that time, it may not be possible to divide the house. For this reason, everyone was very anxious. After discussing it for a few days, they consulted many people everywhere. Someone gave them some advice and said that there is still a way, that is, to find a real estate company in Hangzhou and sell the entire project to it, and then buy the project back from it. Once you come in and out, the house will be assigned to everyone, and you can apply for a real estate certificate. If this is the case, we can catch up with the old house's old method, Director Zhang said. That's why we found Mr. Liu, hoping that Mr. Liu can help. Okay. They are both locals. Director Zhang and Zhen Zhen are still old acquaintances. Is there anything I can't help with? It's okay. Before Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan said anything, Lao Lu shouted in a big way. Lu Ligan hesitated. According to the approach mentioned by Director Zhang, this path was feasible, but what he was not sure about was whether there would be policy risks in doing so. Tan Shahan sat aside. She was unwilling to do this. She felt that it was unnecessary and she had nothing to do to make her smelly. However, this man was brought by old Lu. Director Zhang and she were still acquaintances, and old Lu beat them to it. Before, she had agreed so carelessly, and she could only smile bitterly in her heart, unable to say anything. When Tan Shahan saw that Lu Ligan was silent and knew that he was also hesitating, Tan Shahan thought of an excuse and asked Lu Ligan. Now that Hangzhou has implemented a land acquisition and storage system, it seems that this cannot be done, right? Okay, a person who came with Director Zhang said, we have already understood this. Land acquisition and storage only focus on land. Ours is an ongoing project and is not within that scope. When the other party said this, Tan Shahan could only smile. It seemed that they were really prepared to come, so she had no choice. Seeing Lu Ligan's hesitation, factory manager Zhang added, Mr. Lu, of course, we also know that this fellow is a fellow, and business is business. We can't let Mr. Lu do this in vain. We have discussed it in the factory and decided that this once in and out, Mr. Lu can sell it to us at an additional price of 150 yuan per square meter. How many square meters does your project total? Tan Shahan asked. They are all 6 floors, with a total construction area of more than 42,000 square meters, Director Zhang said. Tan Shahan calculated in her mind that there would be a profit of more than 6 million. If this was the case, she could still do it. Old Lu also figured it out. He looked at Lu Ligan and cursed in his heart, more than 6 million, how much wine can I buy? Humph, I think I have brought you trouble. This time, did I ask you to get rich? When Lao Lu saw that Lu Ligan still didn't speak, he became anxious. He knocked on the conference table in front of him and shouted to Lu Ligan opposite. It's such a good thing, why are you just sitting there stupidly? Why don't you quickly agree to it, Director Zhang? Lu Ligan looked at him and said to him, we are in a meeting. Can you go to my office first? Lao Lu quickly shouted, if you don't want to go, don't go. I'm going to check here for you. Lu Ligan smiled bitterly and said, you don't understand my company's affairs, so why are you trying to control me? Old Lu originally wanted to say, I want to watch it for you, don't let more than 6 million fly away, but saying this was too naked, so he didn't say anything, but snorted dissatisfied and turned around, go, face Lu Lipole sideways, and assume a posture that says, I just won't leave. Lu Ligan shook his head slightly helplessly. The other people looked at the father and son and smiled. Time is very tight. The more than 600 workers in the whole factory are almost crazy, waiting for our good news, Director Zhang said. The policies of this province are like a sword hanging over their heads. I don't know when it will fall, So please help us, Mr. Lu. Director Zhang's words moved Lu Ligan. When he was in Yongcheng, his Wu opera troupe was next door to the dormitory area of the hydropower plant. It can be said that he also had many friends in the hydropower plant. This house was very important to everyone. It is indeed a big deal for a family. Lu Ligan looked at factory director Zhang and said to him, "Well, Director Zhang, it's not that I don't want to help, but I don't know if there will be any policy risks in this matter." Before Lu Ligan finished speaking, the man who came with Director Zhang said, "No, Mr. Lu, don't worry about this. Now, this area is in a mess. Everyone is thinking of all kinds of ways. This is also forced by this window period. For the house, every unit is not racking its brains. When the time comes, the top will really I want to pursue him, but I don't think he can." Lu Ligan nodded, feeling that what this person said made sense. The transition period between the old and new policies was originally the most chaotic time. The higher UPS must have been prepared for the chaos during the transition period, and they must have been prepared to a certain extent. Tolerance, when it comes to policy risks, whether it is banks, postal and telecommunications companies, or Sinopec, including so many companies rushing to buy houses, everyone should have policy risks. But across the country, people are doing this in a flurry, probably with the mentality that the law does not punish the public. On the contrary, those unit leaders who do not do this are likely to arouse public anger and cannot stay in the unit. Lu Ligan and factory manager Zhang said, "Okay, factory manager Zhang, I agree to do this favor for you, but I have a condition. I hope you can agree to it." "Say it, Mr. Lu." "I am here purely to help, not to make profits. Therefore, in this process, I don't want the increase of 150 per square meter you mentioned, and I won't make a penny. You just want to increase the price by 150 per square meter. Just bear all the taxes and fees you should bear, okay?" As soon as Lu Ligan finished speaking, Lao Lu jumped up and cursed. "What are you talking about? You don't want a penny. Do you know, that's more than 6 million, you're a loser." Lu Ligan ignored him, but looked at Director Zhang and said, "Director Zhang, do you agree?" Factory manager Zhang looked at old Lu and said a little embarrassedly, "Mr. Lu is willing to help. Of course we are very grateful. However, you have helped us so much and you don't take any money. How can we get through it?" Lu Lepol pointed at Lao Lu and said to factory director Zhang, "I would like to emphasize that not only will I not take any money from you, but if they ask you for anything, you must not agree. Otherwise, once if I find out, I will stop immediately." Lu Ligan knew Lao Lu too well. He knew that he didn't want anything here. This old comrade would make his own decisions later and ask others for what they want. If so, what's the difference between what he wants? If something happens, I still won't be able to eat and walk around. As Lu Ligan said, Tan Shahen also felt that there might still be policy risks here. Lu Ligan's way of handling it was the best way. If he didn't help, he probably wouldn't be able to push it away today, but if they made money from it, I can't tell what happened. As long as your company doesn't make a penny from it and helps purely out of friendship, the nature of the matter is completely different. Even if something goes wrong, the hydropower plant will take care of it themselves, so they won't have much responsibility. Old Lu jumped up and cursed, "What did you say?" Tan Shahen quickly stood up, walked over, and said to Lao Lu, "Let's go, uncle, I have something to discuss with you." Tan Shahen forced Lao Lu, and Lao Lu had no choice but to follow her. They entered Lu Ligan's office. Tan Shahen closed the door, sat down on the sofa, and said to him, "Uncle, opening a company is nothing, you can get the money, but do you want the Pole to go to jail?" Lao Lu shouted, "What you are saying is that I am his father. How can I expect my son to go to jail?" Tan Shahen smiled and said, "Yes, I know my uncle loves the Pole the most, but do you know that if we take these more than 6 million, if something happens, the Pole will probably go to jail." In a word, Lao Lu was dumbfounded, and after a while he asked, "Really, Zhen Zhen, you didn't scare me." "Uncle, if this money is easy to make, who wouldn't want to make it? Aren't we just opening a company to make money?" "He's not a fool. He won't make the money he can. But do you think it's worthwhile to go to jail just to make money? If it's not cost effective, then wouldn't it just be like the old saying, 'Life is earned but life is spent,'" Lao Lu said. "That's right, so you brought this person here. Of course you can't help but show your face by not helping them, but you can't bend yourself in just to help, don't you think so?" "Yep." "Then let the Pole handle this matter by himself. Uncle, you stay here and have a good rest." "Well." Tan Shahen thought for a while, walked to the cabinet, opened the door, took out the wine and cups, placed them in front of old Lu, and said to him, "Uncle, there is only wine here, so you can make do with it." "Okay, as long as it's wine." Tan Shahen smiled and said, "Uncle, drink slowly here, I'll go over and take a look." "Okay, Zhen Zhen, hurry over and watch that kid. He's so careless." "Don't cause trouble," old Lu shouted. Tan Shahen almost laughed out loud. "Who is this? Who is trying to cause trouble?" In the conference room, the man who came with Director Zhang asked, "I understand what Mr. Lu means. Is Mr. Lu still afraid that something will happen?" Lu Ligan nodded. He said, "Yes, I agree to help, but not for profit." The man said, "Okay, thank you Mr. Lu. If anything happens, our factory will take care of it ourselves. Mr. Lu will definitely not be implicated. Mr. Lu just looks at the hundreds of fellow workers in our factory and helps for free." After the man finished speaking, he looked at Director Zhang, who nodded. Director Zhang and Lu Ligan said, "By the way, the front is so messy that they forgot to introduce him. This is the new Secretary Wu in our factory." Secretary Wu was sent from Hangzhou. Secretary Wu's guarantee can also represent me. Tan Shahen walked in and looked at Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan said to her, "I was just thinking that the original entry and exit of this unit is not very good. I wonder if it is like this. Sentai Real Estate Company will acquire their project and transfer it to Jinxiu, and then Jinxiu will sell the house back to them." Tan Shahen nodded and said yes. She thought to herself that this was indeed better than Yuan Jin Yuan Chu. She had forgotten that they also had Sentai Real Estate. "Thank you Tiger for your monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1013. The Xiananjiang hydropower plant project took almost 10 days to complete the entire process as quickly as possible. During this period, whether it was land management, taxation, or housing management, the workload of each department suddenly increased greatly, and there was a mountain of things to be done on the desk every day. If it weren't for Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen, they would go to each department in person and go to them directly. The whole process, assigned by the boss, could not be completed in a month. Factory Director Zhang and Secretary Wu were very grateful for this and asked whether Mr. Lu should charge a small fee even if it was just a symbolic fee for working so hard for us. Lu Ligan smiled and said, "If I accept it, I will charge you more than 6 million. You are anxious, and I am anxious too. Even though it is to help, I am also afraid. If the help is halfway done, it will not be able to continue, and the time will not be kept up. Then the things ahead are equal to it's all in vain." After they finished the process and handed in all the documents for applying for the real estate certificate, They were waiting for the real estate certificate to be issued. The matter was considered a done deal. Only then did Director Zhang and Secretary Wu feel a stone fall in their hearts. They told Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan that this matter is now the top priority of our entire factory. If this matter is not handled well, we will be drowned in the spit of the workers. Just 2 days after they completed all the procedures, the province's implementation details came down. From this day on, it was also the new housing, new system. Director Zhang and Secretary Wu broke out in cold sweat. It was so dangerous. If they hadn't met Lu Ligan, their project would not have been included in the ranks of old houses. The two of them made a special trip to Hangzhou. They refused to accept the money or the benefits. No matter what, they had to treat us to this meal. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan just went to have a meal with them. At the dinner table, Director Zhang said to Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan, "We don't have anything else to say. If you have any relatives who want to work in the power plant, the two of us can call the shots." Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan both laughed and said that they couldn't remember any relatives and thanked Director Zhang for his thoughtfulness. Director Zhang said, "Well, I will leave my words here today. As long as I am still the director of the power plant, if you have anyone you want to introduce, I will definitely recruit him with just one sentence. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan, please quickly say thank you. I'm afraid only people in Yongcheng will understand that factory director Zhang's words are very weighty. In Yongcheng, the power plant is a unit that outsiders cannot enter even if they want to. The power plant has high income, good remuneration, and easy work, and it is difficult to get into. Even the Yongcheng County government only has a few direct relatives of the main leaders. Zhang Factory, the president will take them in because they are landlords, but will not accept anyone else. Xiananjiang hydropower plant has formed its own independent kingdom in Yongcheng. No one of their children wants to go to other units in Yongcheng. They have to digest it internally, and it is difficult for outsiders to enter. The level of the unit is there. Especially in the years when cotters in the hydropower system were popular, cotters who left the power plant later took up major leadership positions in the provinces and cities. This made the cotters of the power plant look down on the local people. Of officials. Especially when they reach the level of Director Zhang and Secretary Wu, in Yongcheng, they are not very willing to sell other people's accounts. Director Zhang will not tell others easily. This time, they really feel that Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan, it was of great help to them. After finishing the work at the hydropower plant, Tan Shahan will have to think about things in her company. The first thing to do is to find a new office location immediately. After the house in Meishai is sold, the entire sales department will everyone evacuated and the sales department was demolished, leaving only Lao Tan and the engineering headquarters of Liu Bang, the founder of the Han dynasty, still there to continue to supervise the construction. Immediately afterwards, the houses in Splendid West Lake were also sold out, the sales department of Splendid West Lake was also demolished, and the personnel were withdrawn to the company. With so many people returning to the company, although there is nothing specific to do, Tan Shahan and Ying are reluctant to lay off people, and they have to keep them. These are sales elites who were brought out only a few years ago. The city center and the city in the sky are still waiting for them to be put to great use. Using this time, Ying began to train the entire sales department. The training was placed on the first floor of their company. The content of the training is very complicated, and they learn almost everything. Ying told them that you will never know who will walk into the sales office next and what profession he will be in. You can only absorb as much as possible like a sponge. No more, and understand a little bit of all aspects of knowledge, only then will you have the capital to communicate with them. What is sales? Sales is to use the shortest possible time to make them feel that you and them are the same. From the heart, there is no resistance to you. Only then will they listen to what you say to them and get twice the result with half the effort. Even if you get twice the result with half the effort, Your efforts will be discounted by customers even if you lose your reputation. To communicate with them, the most basic thing is to have a common language. You can understand what he thinks, and he can understand what you say. Don't think that you only need a common language when you are looking for male and female friends. Between you and your client, a greater need. Moreover, communicating with customers is more difficult than getting along with your boyfriend and girlfriend. Why? Because as long as you find your boyfriend and girlfriend yourself and are not arranged, at least you will not reject them physically. But customers are different. We have no right to choose customers. Only customers choose us. Even if the person who comes in makes you feel disgusted at first sight, you still have to overcome this disgust and try to find a common language with him. And fast. There is a saying that it takes more than half a sentence to talk without speculation, and it is true. You must have the ability to find a common language within half a sentence, otherwise people may turn around and leave before you get into the mood and say a few words. Ying invited teachers from Zhejiang University to give lectures, invited teachers from Hangzhou University to give lectures, invited Yao Fen and Zhao Xian to give lectures, and invited Wei Wenfang to give lectures. Whoever she caught would be invited to give lectures. Even Zhao Zhigang was invited by her to talk about clothing. Tan Shahen was invited by her not to talk about real estate, but to talk about opera. Chu Tianlin was invited to talk about sales, and the chief of the registration section of the Municipal Industrial and Commercial Bureau was invited by her to talk about industry and commerce. Regarding matters related to registration and changes, she also found the credit section chief of their account bank to explain to them loan-related matters and tips. Ying said, "Many of the people who come to us to buy houses are small business owners. They have needs in this area. If you can help them in this aspect with your knowledge and communication, your customers will trust and even rely on you, and whatever you say will be considered right by them." The salesperson below them joked with Ying, "Manager Ying, not only do we not know who the next customer will be, we also don't know who will give us a lecture next." Ying smiled and said, "That's right, I just want to make each of you turn into tiger balm instead of chewing gum that sticks to your hands and can't be shaken off. Do you know the difference between the two?" The people below shook their heads. "The difference is that chewing gum sticks accidentally, and you want to shake it off immediately, while tiger balm is something you get and apply yourself when you need it. What do you think is better for customers?" So many people crowded back into the company. Lu Ligan looked at it every day and his head got big. When he saw Tan Shahen, he shouted, "Space, space, can you give me more space? How do I feel now? In this company, even more crowded than the Wu opera troupe back then." Tan Shahen scolded, "Is there a boss like you? You should be happy when you see your troops are strong. How can there be a general who hates his own troops as much as you do?" Lu Ligan smiled and said, "Okay, should I learn from Wu Qi and suck the sores on their butts?" Tan Shahen opened her eyes wide, "What do you want to do? You stinky gangster." Lu Ligan then remembered that most of the people below him were girls. The scene of sucking the sores on his buttocks. Lu Ligan chuckled. Tan Shahen stood up and said to Lu Ligan, "Let's go." "Where to go?" Lu Ligan asked. "Let's go see the new office," Tan Shahen said. "When will we have a new office?" Lu Ligan asked. Tan Shahen smiled, said nothing, and walked out. Lu Ligan quickly followed. Tan Shahen drove her car and turned onto Moganshan Road. She drove along Moganshan Road until she reached the intersection of Huancheng North Road and Tianmushan Road. After passing the traffic light, Moganshan Road ended and she entered the opposite Huancheng Road. Drive on Chinsi Road until you reach the West Lake and turn left into Qingchun Road. Lu Ligan asked, "Where are we going?" Tan Shahen still ignored him and continued to drive along Qingchun Road until she reached Digzi Road and turned right. As soon as she turned, Lu Ligan saw Zhang Chen and Lao Tan standing not far ahead, a wall covered with ivy. In front of the old wall, Two people stood smoking in the shade of a street tree. Lu Ligan shouted, "What are the two of them doing here?" "I called them to come," Tan Shahen said. Tan Shahen parked the car on the side of the road, parked behind Zhang Chen and Lao Tan's car, took out a bunch of keys from the car compartment, held it in her hand, and got out of the car. Zhang Chen and Lao Tan saw them. Zhang Chen pointed to the wall behind him and asked Tan Shahen, "Is this inside?" Tan Shahen nodded and said yes. Lao Tan said, "The transportation here is very convenient. It is Qingchun Road in the past, Jifang Road in the past, and it is not far from Meisi River." Lu Ligan stood there, looking doubtfully at both sides of the road. In the middle of the old wall, there was a wooden door with mottled paint. There was a large rusty padlock hanging on the door knocker. Tan Shahen was afraid of breaking the key, so she opened the padlock very carefully. Pushing open the door, there is a deserted yard, shaded by trees. There are more than a dozen large camphor trees scattered in the yard. Under the camphor trees, there is a group of temple-like buildings. To get to the door, you have to pass through a road more than 2 meters wide. A 20 to 30 meter long road paved with cobblestones, with grass growing up from the gaps in the cobblestones up to calf height. They walked along this road and walked in. On both sides of the road were 2 ponds. The lotus flowers in the ponds had grown wild. "No, no, I must have been here before," Lu Ligan shouted loudly. Tan Shahen rolled her eyes at him and cursed, "Do you remember? This place belongs to our company. Thank you for the rewards of I don't know anyone who asks, Dal Tin Soldier, and reading books every day. Thank you for your monthly votes from Not Impossible World, Zipanjiang 1, Lao Chantang, and Chiyo 201709142014394333. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Happy Saturday everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1014. The place where they are now is Kyoshi Academy. Kyoshi Academy is the predecessor of Zhejiang University. Founded in 1897, it is one of the first new institutions of higher learning in modern Chinese history to imitate the Western academic system. Duxiu, Li Suizi, Shi Chenzi, Zhang Bailey, Su Xiaochang, Chen Yi, etc. are all as a student here. The temple-like building they saw now was the main hall of Pusai Temple, the original site of Kyoshi College. This place was bought together with Genshin Power Plant when Lu Ligan was crazy about buying and buying. He originally liked this place because, as Lao Tan said, the transportation is very convenient. Duxiu Road is in front of the door. It has become nothing more than a name, and cannot smell the breath of a university, but it connects Qingchun Road and Jifang Road. This place has more than 20 acres. When Lu Ligan bought it, he thought that 7 or 8 6-story houses could be built here. Unexpectedly, he discovered after buying it that, like Genshin Power Plant, it was also a provincial cultural relic protection unit. Only protective development is allowed, and demolition to build commercial housing for sale is not allowed. The Genshin Power Plant was renovated and opened to the public due to the renovation of the Genshin River. When Lu Ligan knew that commercial housing could not be built in this place, he threw the real estate certificate and land certificate aside, and forgot about this place to the west. This place is more cruel than Genshin Power Plant. Genshin Power Plant was originally an industrial factory area. The factories inside can still be used. There are also large tracts of open space that allow the construction of non-permanent buildings like the Riverside Oil Painting Gallery. This place is not only the main hall of Pusai Temple is not allowed to be demolished or destroyed, and the overall layout of the front yard is not allowed to be destroyed. Even the surrounding old walls are not allowed to be demolished unless they are struck by lightning or collapse due to years of erosion from rain and snow. In other words, except that you can tidy up the place and repair it as before, you can't touch it casually. What's the use of it? Who has nothing to do to clean up this place and send someone to guard it? Therefore, This place was completely forgotten by Lou Ligon. He was a little confused until he got off the bus at Diggsy Road. He felt that this place seemed familiar. When he walked into the yard, he realized that he had been here before, but he still couldn't remember why he came there. It wasn't until Tan Shahan said that this was Kyoshi College and it belonged to him that Lou Ligon remembered that such a thing had happened. The transfer procedures at that time were all handled by Wenwen and Qian. Wenwen seemed to have scolded herself for this and bought a bunch of junk. But just because they were the ones who handled the procedures, Lou Lepole said here, there is even less impression. Tan Shahan was cleaning out the cabinet in the company that day and found the real estate certificate in the cabinet, and then she learned that there was such a place under the company's name. I drove over to take a look and found that the space here is large enough. Past the main hall of Pusai Temple, there are 2 side halls and a row of houses. This Pusai Temple had been renovated because it was to be a school at that time. This row of houses is a product of that time, including the original classrooms, student dormitories, teacher dormitories, and offices in several halls, as well as the offices of the host and chief teacher, library, and dining hall. Kyoshi Academy hired American E.L. Maddox as the chief teacher at that time. So here, outside it still looks like a temple hall, but inside, it has long been beyond recognition. Tan Shahan went to the Cultural Management Bureau and asked, and found out that the restoration here remained the same as before, that is, it continued to look like it had changed beyond recognition. And like this, as long as minor changes are made, it can be used as an office. The layout of the front yard cannot be changed, but the open space where the door comes in can be poured into a cement floor. In addition, the door coming in from Diggsy Road seems small now, but at that time, it was not too small. The prefect Lin Chi is the first host of the academy, and his sedan chair must always be able to enter and exit this gate. The door is wide and narrow, so large trucks can't drive in, but cars can just drive in, even Lou Ligon's Mercedes-Benz. After entering the door, there is a parking lot converted from the vacant lot. After Tan Shahan came here to see it, she decided to renovate it and use it as an office. So when the 2 office buildings in the center of Hangzhou began to sell out, Tan Shahan did not hesitate and left the floor that she planned to use as an office. Sold. After the renovation here, the original office can be sublet to others after moving here. Now that the rent has increased, it is no longer the price in the contract between them and Hangcheng Customs. Therefore, they can still make a small profit. After looking around inside and out, Zhang Chen and Lao Tan also felt that it was okay and it was enough for them. Apart from Lou Ligon's dream of climbing high and overlooking the distance, the biggest advantage was that Zhang Chen and Lou Ligon said, "You, a Zhejiang University student, have finally returned to Zhejiang University." Zhang Chen made Lou Ligon excited with just one sentence. He pointed to the chief professor's office and asked, "Is this chief professor the current president of Zhejiang University?" "My office is here." Zhang Chen thought for a moment and said, "The chief teacher should be the director of the teaching and research section, and the person in charge should be the principal." "Okay, then my office is here." Lou Ligon pointed to the organizer's office again and told Tan Shahan. Tan Shahan scolded, "Children, you can have both rooms." After seeing it, Lao Tan knew what he needed. He just needed to connect the water and electricity, install the air conditioner, repair the house, clean the pond in front, rebuild the damaged stone fence, and build 2 bluestone guardrails on both sides of the road. These are all jobs they have done in Meishai, and they are not difficult. The biggest project is to build a public toilet next to the row of houses in the backyard. About this, Tan Shahan also communicated with the Cultural Management Bureau. The Cultural Management Bureau told her that all cultural relics protection units need to provide water and electricity and add public toilets. It is allowed, otherwise people would not be able to live in it now, and we cannot let everyone still use the toilet. A group of people walked outside. Lu Ligan looked at a piece of information about Kyoshi Academy as he walked. This was brought to Lao Tan by Tan Shahen and asked him to pay attention to it when renovating it, especially when several pieces were removed and lying on the side. The stone monument in the backyard needs to be put back up, and the plaque on the door is gone and needs to be redone in its original style. Lu Ligan looked at it and suddenly laughed excitedly, and said to Zhang Chen, "Zhang Chen, do you know who went to school here?" Zhang Chen shook his head, "How should I know?" "Si Duxiu, Si Duxiu," Lu Ligan shouted, "Ha ha, Si Duxiu went to school here. I want to call Meng Ping. Zhang Chen, do you remember, we went to Lohukiao to see him at that time. This guy proudly told us that Si Duxiu had been imprisoned there, and he and Si Duxiu lived in the same cell. I want to tell him that it turns out that the place where Si Duxiu went to school is mine. The company's office had to be moved and the house had to be rented out, so Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen had no place to live. Lu Ligan did not leave a villa for himself and Tan Shahen in the peach blossom land. He had had such an idea, but as soon as he said, Tan Shahen couldn't bear it and scolded him, "Is there something wrong with you? Why do we want to live in such a good house? There is no way, Tan Shahen is such a woman." When she scolded him like this, she joined us and classified her and Lu Ligan as a family. Although Lu Ligan was scolded, he felt very happy. "But you can't say that you don't have a house in Hangzhou." Lu Ligan proposed to leave 2 townhouses for himself and Tan Shahen on the banks of Meisi River. The villas here are small in size and low in unit price. The total price is only a quarter of that in Dahua Yuan. Tan Shahen has no objection. The townhouses here come in 2 sets. When Lu Ligan was choosing a house, he picked 2 adjacent sets for himself and Tan Shahen. Lu Ligan thought that Tan Shahen would scold him and object to living next door to her. Unexpectedly, Tan Shahen found out and said nothing. This made Lu Ligan extremely happy. He felt that it seemed that Tan Shahen was really determined and had no other thoughts. Otherwise, other men would appear in her place and be hit by Lu Ligan, more or less. It would be embarrassing. Tan Shahen did not express any objection, which means that in her heart, she never thought that such a thing would happen. "Well, since nothing will happen to you, then I will do the same here." The reason why Lu Ligan arranged 2 adjacent townhouses was that once Tan Shahen allowed him to touch her hands, and then went further, they only had to knock down the wall of the living room on the 1st floor, and the townhouses would be destroyed. The villa became a single-family villa. In the Meisi project, units such as townhouses and villas were originally built at the end. Unexpectedly, all of them were sold out unexpectedly. Now the construction here has been stepped up, but when the units are actually handed over, they can be moved in, at least in another year. Lu Ligan's parents' home is in Jingxiu Xiangting, so he can live back there. But whenever he thought of having to face the nagging from his mother and Lao Lu every day, Lu Ligan felt that his head was going to explode. Therefore, he decided that he and Tan Shahen would either rent a house in the city, or simply live there. Go to the Peach Blossom Spring Hotel. Tan Shahen thought it was too far to go to Peach Blossom Spring, so she decided to rent 2 houses with Lu Ligan in the city. Zhang Chen found out about this and scolded Tan Shahen, "Tan Shahen, why are you so stupid? You don't even think of going back to your parents' home when you are in trouble." "Why go back to my parents' home?" Tan Shahen wondered. "You want me to go back to Yongcheng? Go back to the dynamic zone, idiot. Isn't there a place for you to live there?" Zhang Chen asked. Tan Shahen and Lu Ligan understood and both laughed. Yes, the house where Tan Shahen used to live is still empty above Zhang Chen and the others, and the house where the second-rate guy lived is also empty. Isn't it just right for them to live in? When renting a house outside, it is not as convenient as living upstairs with Zhang Chen. Especially for Lu Ligan, he can also walk to his old place next door every day, look at the center of Hangzhou next door, or go to Zhang Chen's office. Drink tea and brag. Stupid, 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 Zhang Chen, It's my fault, Tan Shahen hurriedly told Jiang Chen. For Tan Shahen, another advantage of living there is that she can go and see Xiangnan every day. If she doesn't have time to go, Jiang Chen's parents will take Xiangnan and Xiangbei to the 2 bus stops. Or come on foot. Moreover, there is a canteen below, which is very convenient for eating. But for this person, it is often troublesome to go to the hotel and it is too tedious to cook by yourself, so having a canteen is just right. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131 on the shore. Thank you for your monthly votes from Sweet Dreams, Book Friends 2019010420175831 and Book Friends 2017091420143943. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1015. At around 4 o'clock, Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen arrived at Jiang Chen's office. As soon as Lu Ligan came in, he asked, "Where is Xiao Zhao? Let's have dinner tonight." Jiang Chen looked up at them and said, "It's next door." Tan Shahen went next door immediately. Jiang Chen asked Lu Ligan, "Why did you come back so early today to have dinner?" "Today's dinner is very important," Lu Ligan said. "I made an appointment with the director of the Education Committee of Zihua District and the principal of Beokuta Experimental School to have dinner with us. Then if I don't go, what does they have to do with me?" Jiang Chen said, "If there's anything delicious about this kind of food, it's up to you." "Okay, Jiang Chen, if you feel like it, don't go." "They have nothing to do with you, but everything to do with my son," Lu Ligan said. Jiang Chen looked up at him, and Lu Ligan said, "Xiangnan will go to elementary school this year, and Xiangbei will go to elementary school next year. This Beoku Tower Experimental School is a key school in Hangzhou, right next to the splendid Home Superior." Before Lu Ligan finished speaking, Jiang Chen understood and quickly shouted, take back what I said before, I'll go." Jiang Chen also knew that this matter was so important. No wonder these two people were so cautious about it. You must know that although Jiang Chen and the others are in Hangzhou, even the household registrations of Zhang Xiangbei and Feng Xiangnan are still in Yongcheng. Whether you study in the school district or not has nothing to do with them. If you want to enter a key school in Hangzhou, you can only rely on connections. The two of them were sitting there, and Lu Ligan said with emotion, "Jiang Chen, it feels like it was yesterday that I took you from Haidian Island to Zhanjiang by boat. Suddenly, this Xiangbei is about to go to elementary school." Jiang Chen also sighed, he thought so. He and Xiao Zhao were on the coal pile in the boiler room of the Hunky Hotel. The scene was as clear as before. In the blink of an eye, this Xiangbei has grown up and will go to elementary school next year. Tan Shahen and Xiao Zhao came over and said, "Let's go." The four of them got up and went to Tianxiang Tower. Everyone had a great time at dinner, and the atmosphere was good. Not only the matter of going to the south, but also the matter of going to school in the north was decided on the spot. After seeing off the guests, the four of them hurried to Jiang Chen's parents' house to tell them the news. Jiang Chen's parents are very happy. Their favorite school is Beokuta Experimental School. It is only a few hundred meters away from home. It is very convenient whether going to or from school. Jiang Chen's mother smiled and said, "Nanan is going to be so happy, Nanan, isn't she?" Xiangnan smiled and nodded repeatedly. Jiang Chen's mother told them that Xiangnan even asked her to lead them to school countless times to see them after school. Zhang Xiangbei heard that they were all talking about Xiangnan, and he became suspicious. He pulled Xiao Zhao's clothes and asked, "Mom, what about me?" Xiao Zhao told him that you are not old enough yet and will not be able to go to elementary school until next year. You should continue to go to kindergarten. Zhang Xiangbei burst into tears and shouted, "No, no, no, I want to go to school with my sister, I don't want to go to kindergarten." Xiang Nan pointed at him and shouted, "Don't cry. You are already going to the senior class. Are you still crying? How can you go to this elementary school when you are not old enough? When you get to the class, you are the shortest in the class. All the other students know this. You don't know, isn't it embarrassing?" Zhang Xiangbei held it back, wanting to cry but not daring to cry. He looked at Xiang Nan and then at Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao nodded and continued to say to Xiang Nan, "If you are good, I will agree that you and grandma will pick me up at the school gate every day." "Really?" Zhang Xiangbei asked. "Really?" Xiang Nan nodded. "Are you still crying?" Zhang Xiangbei shook his head. Tan Shahen quickly hugged Zhang Xiangbei and said, "Bai Bei, we have already agreed today that next year when you grow up, you can go to school and go to this school. That way, you and your sister can go together every morning and come back together after school." Only then did Zhang Xiangbei burst into laughter. The Hangzhou city government has made rapid progress in implementing the land acquisition and storage system. By September this year, they will be preparing to start the first formal, municipal-level land auction. Lu Ligan and his company also signed up. This time, Tan Shahen expected the competition to be fierce, because after the explosive sales of houses some time ago, every real estate company almost ran out of land and houses. The most important thing is that everyone still has money. There is no other way to obtain land now. The gray area of land transfer has been squeezed by the transparent and open bidding, auction, and listing. Moreover, in Hangzhou, there are real estate companies in China, no more than in small places. If you want to rig bids during bidding, auctions and listings, it will be too difficult and basically impossible. All real estate companies will definitely focus their attention on this auction. By the way, our Sentai real estate company should also sign up. Lu Ligan thought of it and said to Tan Shahen. "What?" Tan Shahen asked. "In this way, we can cooperate with each other and use tactics," Lu Ligan said. At that time, let Song Chunming, on behalf of Sentai Real Estate Company, hold the placard. Tan Shahen nodded and understood. A total of 12 pieces of land will be auctioned this time. Lu Ligan called several key personnel of the company together for a meeting to formulate their strategy. First, they must determine which pieces of land they must take, and then, give them calculate the psychological price of their company for each piece of land. At that time, they can take it or not. If the price is lower than their psychological price, they will take it. If the price is higher, they will give up. The focus is still on making sure to get those few pieces that must be taken. As a result of their discussion, 3 of the lands were identified. One is in the newly developed Jianzhong New City. The advantages of this land are, first, it has a selling point. This is the future center of Hangzhou and has a first-line river view. The most important thing is that the area of this land is large enough. More than 180 acres, it is stipulated that it must be a high-rise building, which means that this land will have a total construction area of 500,000 square meters. There are not many high-rise real estate companies in Hangzhou, and there are even fewer projects with such a large area. Only the total construction area of their Meishaihe project exceeds it. Even the Hangcheng project they developed, the first high-rise community, Jingxiu Qiantang, is less than half of its size. The larger the plot, the more land transfer fees and subsequent construction funds will be required, which will scare away many real estate companies that are not strong enough. In addition, there are many real estate companies who are not optimistic about Jianzhong New City. I feel that it is too early for that place to achieve the scale and climate. They are still used to building houses and selling them in the old urban areas. But Zhang Chen and Tan Shahen are very optimistic about Jianzhong New City. When they were planning the city in the sky, they had already felt that Chinese people like to live near water, and the water in Hangzhou includes rivers, lakes, and rivers. The river is the Qiantang River next to Jianzhong New Town, the river is the canal, and the lake of course refers to the West Lake. However, due to the regional and height restrictions on the West Lake, it is impossible to have such a large-scale project. As for the canal, to be honest, in the urban area, the water surface is not wide enough, and it is difficult to form any scenery. When the river surface is wide, the geographical location is relatively remote. The Qiantang River is different. Now the Binjiang district across the river has been established. Even Xiaoshan, a county-level city under the jurisdiction of Hangzhou City, is preparing to withdraw from the city and change its district into Xiaoshan district of Hangzhou City. Once approved, Hangzhou City will have 2 districts across from the Qiantang River. The Qiantang River will become the inland river of Hangzhou City, and both sides of the river will develop simultaneously. This Qianzhong new city will definitely become the pearl of Hangzhou City. Moreover, Mr. Han also reminded Lu Ligan and the others that in cities like Hangzhou, once all land starts to be auctioned and listed, the local government will soon become rich and reap the benefits. Their investment in municipal construction will definitely increase greatly, and the speed may exceed your imagination. If that happens, Qianzhong New City, which has not seen much improvement yet, will definitely be the first to benefit. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan decided to mark this piece of land as their number 1 land, which they must win no matter what. The land marked number 2 is a piece of land located at the foot of Wushan Mountain. It is not large, only 21 acres. It is a restricted residence. The height of the building is limited to 12 stories. This project is less than 200 meters away from the West Lake in a straight line. You can see the West Lake from upstairs. Lu Ligan and his splendid West Lake have already tasted the sweetness of the West Lake. The West Lake is the biggest selling point of all houses in Hangzhou. Lu Ligan and Tan Shahan did not hesitate to label this place as number 2. The plot marked number 3 was not far from Splendid Home. At that time, people did not have the concept of school district housing, but this time Tan Shahan and Lu Ligan had conflicts with the school and the education committee because of going to school in the south. After contacting them, they felt sensitively that the school district could actually be used as a big buying point for real estate, and it could quickly attract people who urgently needed it. Therefore, they marked this piece of land as number 3. The other 9 pieces of land can be bought or not, and sold at the lowest price, but they know that this land auction cannot be cheap. After confirming it, Tan Shahan asked Ying Ying and the others to find out the current housing prices of these 3 plots for their reference when participating in the auction. Lu Ligan's cell phone rang and he picked it up. It was Lu Changcheng. Lu Changcheng asked straight to the point, "Mr. Lu, has your company signed up for this land auction?" Lu Ligan quickly said, "I've reported it, leader." "Okay, I'm relieved now that you've reported it. To be honest, this is the first time I've done this, and I'm a little nervous, afraid of screwing up." Lu Changcheng said, "By the way, Mr. Lu, the day after tomorrow Mr. Han will come to Hangzhou, and I will treat him to a dinner, and I hope Mr. Lu can also attend." "Okay, if the leader orders me, of course I will come as soon as he is called." "Is Mr. Han coming this time?" "I invited him here. It's my first time doing this. As a consultant, why don't he come and cheer me up?" "Understood. Okay, Mr. Lu, I'll let Xiao Zhong inform you of the time and place." "Okay, thank you, leader." After hanging up the phone, Lu Ligan let out a long breath and his face showed joy. Tan Shahan glanced at him and teased, "Why, are you flattered to receive a call from the deputy mayor?" Lu Ligan smiled and said, "No, Mr. Han is coming. He can help us verify whether our judgment on Qianzhong New City is correct." When Lu Ligan said this, Tan Shahan also became excited. Ying Ying shouted, I don't care, Mr. Lu, this time Mr. Han comes, you must invite him to teach my subordinates." Wei Venfang said, "Mr. Han is very sharp." Lu Ligan scolded, "You are too loud. Mr. Han is now a consultant to the municipal government and teaches classes to city leaders. You want him to teach your sales department. So what? Ying Ying said, the city leaders don't sell the houses, so we sell the houses. We need them more. Thank you to Smiling and Running Y and Tianying 1978 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good night everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1016. Lu Ligan called MSCAI and told her about the situation here. MSCAI also encouraged him to take pictures and told him that if there are problems with funds, I can continue to provide you with entrusted loans. Kunpeng Construction can also pay dividends in advance. It would be a pity not to use too much funds in the account. Indeed, after all the houses in the Mishaihe project were sold, Kunpeng Construction now has more than 7 billion in cash on its books. This company was established specifically for the Mishaihe project, and there will be no new projects in the future. Mishaihe, even if the Shihe project is fully completed, the amount of project money that still needs to be paid will be less than 1 billion. The reason why such a large amount of money has not been moved is because, even if they are divided, MSCAI and the others will not be able to get out this part of the funds. They tend to keep it and continue to entrust Mr. Chiao and others to do Lu Ligan Hang Cheng. Center and City in the Sky mortgages. Comparatively speaking, the loan interest rate in mainland China is too high, several times that in Taiwan. After the interest rate reduction, the annual interest rate of one-year loan in mainland China is still as high as 9%. This income is too attractive, which makes MSCAI they feel that direct lending is more cost-effective than investing. As long as the risk of the loan is controllable, all loan companies are working for the bank. After talking to MSCAI, Lu Ligan felt confident. When he went to the auction house to raise the placard, he felt that he was very confident. Lu Ligan then called Mr. Han. Mr. Han said, "Mr. Lu, I will go to Hangzhou the day after tomorrow. I originally wanted to call you, but after thinking about it, I decided not to call. I would like to meet and chat. You will definitely be in Hangzhou anyway." Lu Ligan asked curiously, "How are you sure that I will be in Hangzhou? The auction is going to be held soon. How can I miss you? Even if you are on the moon, you will definitely come back, right?" Lu Ligan laughed, "Yes, Mr. Han understands me. Lu Chengcheng probably asked you to attend the dinner party the day after tomorrow, right?" Mr. Han asked. "Yes, how did Mr. Han know about this?" Lu Ligan thought for a moment and asked, "Mr. Han asked him to invite me, right?" "How dare you, how dare you, how can I command the officials?" "It's very simple. For the first auction, Lu Chengcheng must have had no idea. He invited me as a consultant, and he will definitely invite representatives from the real estate company. He wants to hear more about each other. You have a good relationship with him and our representative. If he doesn't invite you, who will you invite?" Mr. Han said. Lu Ligan sighed, "Really, nothing can escape Mr. Han's eyes." The people sent by Ying Ying came back one after another. Ying Ying and Tan Shahan walked into Lu Ligan's office together. They all knew the housing prices around these three plots. Near Jingxiu Home, passing by after a wave of rise, it is now 3,600 to 3,080, and near Wushan, it is 4,01 to 4,050. There are no houses around the Jianzhong New Town plot. The closest ones are a few hundred meters away. Tianfa Garden and Jinjiang Garden are just past Wangjiangmen. The main residents there are the demolished households of Jianzhong New Town. They are all multi-story buildings. The location is also relatively remote, the house price is around 1,000, and there is our splendid Qiantang, but our location is closer to the city than them. Lu Qinchin's secretary Xiao Zhong called Lu Ligan and told him that the dinner the day after tomorrow was at 6 o'clock in the West Lake Hall of the Zhengqiao Hotel. Lu Ligan said, "I understand, thank you Secretary Zhong." 2 days later. Mr. Han lives in Zhengqiao Hotel. He arrived this afternoon. As soon as Lu Ligan arrived at the gate of Zhengqiao Hotel, Mr. Han called him and asked him, "Mr. Lu, where have you been?" Lu Ligan told him that I had just arrived downstairs. I'm in 1802. You go to my room first, and then we'll go there together, Mr. Han said. Lu Ligan said yes. He went to 1802 and rang the doorbell. It was Mr. Han who opened the door for him. When he walked into the room, he did not see Wien Wen. Lu Ligan was a little strange and asked, "Wien Wen didn't come with Mr. Han?" Mr. Han told him that this time it was more formal, so he didn't bring her. Officials from the mainland don't like to bring their families with them when traveling. I still have to follow the local customs. Lu Ligan understood. He knew that Mr. Han did not take Wien Wen with him. It was not only a matter of doing as the Romans did, but also that the age difference between him and Wien Wen was too big. When others saw it, it would be easy for them to associate it with each other, which would give people the impression of being immoral. I feel that this is why it is a more formal event and is not convenient to bring. This time Mr. Han came and went, which was different from the past. It was not Lu Ligan who picked him up from the airport, but the city government's car. Wien Wen had nothing to hide. But to be honest, even Lu Ligan still doesn't know what the relationship between Mr. Han and Wien Wen is. He has never been able to ask, and he doesn't have much interest in finding out. Lu Ligan was sitting on the sofa in the room, while Mr. Han was doing things in the bathroom. By the time he had his hair neatly arranged and his tie neatly tied, and walked out of the bathroom, it was already 5:50. The two of them almost had no time to say anything before they were about to go to the restaurant. In the elevator, Mr. Han and Lu Ligan said, "If I talk about the floor price or the ground price later, please support the floor price." Lu Ligan said yes. Attending today's dinner, in addition to Lu Changcheng and the director of the municipal government office, there were also the director of planning, the director of soil management, the director of construction, and the director of the land acquisition and storage center. Lu Ligan knew these people, and they often interacted with them. He had never dealt with the land acquisition and storage center, but the director turned out to be a director of the land management bureau, so he was an old acquaintance. After everyone sat down, Lu Changcheng made it clear that tonight we are not speaking in the name of our respective positions, but in the name of old colleagues and old friends. We can talk casually. He said to the director of the Land Collection and Storage Center, "Especially you, Director Chu, the auction is about to take place. If you are not sure yet, just ask Mr. Han more, he has experience in this area." Director Chu is not called Director Chu because he is the director of the Land Acquisition and Storage Center, but because his surname is Chu. Lu Ligan met him before and once said to him, "Director Chu, you are really indebted to your ancestors." Director Chu looked at him puzzled, and Lu Ligan said, "You have a good surname. Do you dare to say that when the leaders were discussing the candidate for the director of the Land Acquisition and Storage Center, your surname was not the first one that came to mind?" Director Chu smiled and said, "Don't tell me, it's really possible. Mr. Lu, you reminded me that I will pay my respects to the grave during the Qingming festival this year. The Land Acquisition and Storage Center is a deputy bureau level unit, and Director Chu was promoted from director to director." Mr. Han asked Director Chu, "Is there a reserve price for this auction?" "There is a floor price, but there is no maximum price limit," Director Chu said. "In this auction, is it calculated based on the floor price or the ground price?" Mr. Han asked. Director Chu was stunned for a moment. He obviously had not thought about the floor price and ground price. Hangzhou was the first city to implement the land collection and storage system. There is no experience from other cities to learn from. Everything is being explored, from land collection and storage as for the determination of prices, including the determination of auction procedures. The country has no specific regulations, and they have no precedents to follow. Director Chu said, "It's the same as before, calculated based on the total price." Lu Chengcheng asked, "Mr. Han, what is the difference between the two prices you mentioned for a city's property market?" Mr. Han said, "The land price is the total price mentioned by Director Chu. The floor land price is the total land price divided by the planned building area. The factor of floor area ratio is added to it, that is, the building area per square meter. Included in land price. Floor land price auctions are simpler and more intuitive. The construction and installation costs and taxes per square meter are basically fixed. Developers only need to add these two costs together and estimate the total price per square meter. The profit in the middle will come out. Calculation based on floor price has two advantages. First, because the calculation method is simple and intuitive, people will be more enthusiastic about raising placards at the auction site, and most importantly, it will have a positive impact on the property price in a city. The stimulating effect will stimulate the housing market. "Why, Mr. Han?" the construction director asked. "The results of every auction will be reported through the media, right?" Mr. Han asked. The construction director nodded, and Mr. Han continued. "You reported how much this piece of land was sold for, but the public has no idea. Who knows how big your land is, what its floor area ratio is, and how many houses you can build. But when you talk about the floor price, everyone understands. It's a simple calculation. After a while, you will know how much your house should be worth. Generally speaking, every land auction will drive up the surrounding housing prices. Also, when the land adjacent to you is auctioned again, everyone will regard the floor price of the land that has already been auctioned as the floor price. His place is already 1,550, and I will take the price of 1,060. Regardless of the risk, developers will have this mentality of boiling frogs in warm water. Time and time again, the land price will go up. When the land price goes up, of course the house prices will also go up." As Mr. Han spoke, everyone nodded, thinking that what Mr. Han said made sense. Lu Chengcheng asked Lu Ligan, "Mr. Lu, what about from your developer's perspective?" Lu Ligan said, "Of course I support the land price. I actually told Mr. Han that we will understand immediately whether this project can be done and whether it will be profitable. Moreover, from the perspective of human psychology and nature, what Mr. Han said is not wrong. This is more stimulating to people at the auction site, which will prompt people to impulsively raise their placards and drive up the land price." "Why?" Lu Chengcheng became interested. "In a total price auction, the price you raise each time should be at least 500,000 once. If you shout twice, it will go up to 1 million. Then you won't dare to shout anymore. If it is an auction based on the floor price, once 20, everyone thought it was a small amount of money, so they all raised the price. After the auction was over, it was actually a loss. Multiplying the land price of the floor and the construction area, the total price of the land has gone up to several million." Lu Ligan said, and everyone laughed. Lu Chengcheng looked at everyone and said, "I think Mr. Han and Mr. Lu are right. Some things really need outsiders to break them down. What do you think?" Several directors present here nodded. "How about we just change it this time?" Lu Chengcheng asked. Everyone except Director Chu nodded. Lu Chengcheng looked at Director Chu and asked, "Director Chu, is it difficult to change now?" Director Chu hesitated and said, "It's not difficult at all. It's just that our auction announcement has been released a long time ago. What are you afraid of when we release it? Aren't we all trying to improve it? You can just send a temporary notice on site. Mr. Lu, you are the developer. Will you have any objections to temporary changes? Asked the Director of Soil Management. Lu Ligan said, for us, it doesn't matter how we change it. Anyway, the land is not in my hands yet. What we changed is just the pricing method. In fact, there is no actual change. And it treats everyone equally, rather than targeting a specific person. Of course I have no objection to the company. Yes, Mr. Lu is right, the director said. Old Chu, this is what you do. His immediate superiors had spoken, so of course Director Chu had no choice but to agree, and he said yes. Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and RIRI Shushu for the reward. Thank you Cup Guy API, Book Friends 201907202341555629, Love Purple Only, Snowy Sun and Moonlight, Sample Bad, Book Friends 201904121548362008 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Happy Sunday everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1017. When people sit for a long time, they become casual, and when they talk too much, their words become complicated. After everyone clinked glasses a few times, it started to get into the atmosphere of casual chatting, as Lu Changcheng said. Mr. Han was full of praise for the mainland's central government's focus on real estate as a focus of stimulating domestic demand this time. He said, this is the right direction and the right goal. This year, the mainland's economy will definitely make a leap. Someone asked in confusion, Mr. Han, why do you say that real estate has found the right target? Because the industry itself is a big one. In a country as big as China, you are not a big project. This domestic demand cannot be stimulated at all. To stimulate domestic demand, first, it must be necessary for everyone. Everyone needs it. You said that the development of the automobile industry, can it be regarded as a pillar industry to stimulate domestic demand? Although the price of a car is about the same as a house, the development of the automobile industry will also drive the development of related industries. The industry is big enough, but the biggest problem is that this car is not necessary for everyone. You can have it, it doesn't matter. This key element is gone. Houses are different. Whether you buy a house or rent a house, everyone needs a house. House has become as necessary as clothing and food, and it involves many industries, so when it moves, other industries will follow suit. Although they are all necessities, they are not good if they are too small. For example, you cannot rely on the clothing industry to drive it. It is too small. People only buy a lot of clothing in a year, but a house can be used by a family for several years. Savings. That's right, Lu Changcheng pointed at Lu Ligan and said, if nothing else, let's talk about Mr. Lu, how much time and energy we have spent on building Hangzhou Iron and Steel, how much money we have invested, and how much production we have produced this year. Mr. Lu, it's not worth what you spent half a year, right? That's a company with tens of thousands of people. Lu Ligan quickly said, this year is a special situation. It's not a special situation, Mr. Han said, even under normal circumstances, it can't catch up. How much does it cost to build a building? It's hard work to build a factory with an output value of millions a year. How much does it cost to build a building? How many factories do you have? Mr. Han looked at everyone and said, I have always been optimistic about the mainland's economy. When the financial crisis happened last year, many of my friends in Hong Kong asked me whether the mainland would be unlucky. I told them that it was impossible. The mainland has enough ways to stimulate the economy. As long as just find the right one. No, I have found it now. I can predict that mainland China's economic data this year will definitely be the most eye-catching in the world. The mainland government is too rich, Mr. Han and Lu Changcheng said, you are too rich and make people jealous. Are we rich? Lu Changcheng was confused, and others here were also confused. The local financial difficulties were almost unexplainable, and the pressure was high. How could we start talking about this wealth? Mr. Han laughed and said to Lu Changcheng, if I say this, Mayor Lu will probably be unconvinced, right? Yes, I don't understand, where does this wealth come from? Lu Changcheng asked. Okay, let me tell you where you are rich, Mr. Han said. If you have been to New York, Tokyo, or Hong Kong, and see the high-rise buildings everywhere in the city, you will think that the city is too rich, much better than our Hangzhou, right? Isn't it? Asked the construction director. No, they are all poorer than you, and the municipal governments of each of their cities are not as rich as you, Mr. Han said. Everyone present laughed and felt that this Hong Kong person was really good at talking nonsense. He was probably just like those singers. Wherever he went, he would talk about the beautiful mountains and rivers and the beautiful people. He was probably eating Lu Chencheng's food today. Just say nice things to fool them. Mr. Han looked at everyone and smiled slightly. He said, you may think that I drink too much. No, you will understand after I tell you. Which of you has been to Tokyo? I've been there, Lu Changcheng said. I've been there too, said the director of soil management. I've been there, together with Mayor Lu, said the planning director. Then you must have been to Ginza and Shibuya. When you stand at the Ginza Forchome intersection or Shibuya Zukami intersection, you will feel dazzled, right, Mr. Han said, but you said, these four surrounding areas of all the buildings, which one is related to the Tokyo city government? They are all assets of the consortium. Look at your city of Hangzhou, be it Yan'an Road, Jifang Road, around Woolen Square and the West Lake. How many of them are not the assets of your municipal government? When Mr. Han said this, everyone present's eyes lit up and they thought the statement was interesting. Mr. Han continued, how about the whole city of Hangzhou? To be honest, I have never seen any city in any country in the world that has as many assets as the governments of mainland cities. We say rich. It includes cash and assets. What you lack is only cash, not assets. Not only do you own so many streets and houses in the city, you also own airports, train stations, bus stations, banks, and so many state-owned enterprises. Tell me, are you the richest government in the world? All you need is how to convert assets and rights into cash. This land acquisition, storage, bidding, auction, and listing are just the first step you have taken. This is just a small step. I dare to predict that starting from this year, your life will not be sad, and it will only get better and better from now on. Lu Changcheng nodded and said, if you look at it from this perspective, you can say that, including what you said about converting assets into cash, although the words are a bit ugly, I understand that that is the concept of running the city, but what you said, I cannot agree to convert rights into cash, Mr. Han. This right cannot be abused. Of course it cannot be abused. The cash I am talking about is also government cash, not personal cash. It is a crime to convert it into personal cash, but when it is converted into government cash, this cash will eventually be used to serve all citizens, so there is nothing wrong with it. And, you are already doing this, Mr. Han said with a smile. Have we already done this? Lu Changcheng was surprised. Where? Mr. Han said, I took a taxi in Hangzhou, and the taxi driver told me that a taxi license in Hangzhou now costs 160,000, right? Then tell me, what is this taxi license? Isn't it just a taxi license? A piece of paper? What kind of paper can be worth 160,000? Only paper converted from government rights will be worth this money. Government rights can be converted into cash through special authorization. This is a typical case. Lu Changcheng let out a long breath. If you say this, I understand, and it's right. I also saw a very pity situation in mainland China. It can be said that every local government is wasting a huge amount of resources, Mr. Han said. What is it? The director of land management asked. A lot of it, all in all, is that the government's rights I mentioned earlier have not been properly transformed. Let me give you an example. For example, banks seem to be very casual in mainland China. A bank branch can be opened today, closed tomorrow, and reopened the day after tomorrow. It is completely up to the bank itself. They can drive wherever they please. You know, in foreign countries, every time a bank adds a branch, it has to apply for a license. Do you know how much this bank license costs? You can say that these incomes are completely wasted. No wonder mainland banks it's so easy to drive, Mr. Han said. Mr. Han, do you want us to collect money from the bank? The planning director asked. This bank belongs to the state. If we collect money from them, aren't we collecting money from the state? What about foreign-funded banks coming in the future? What about private banks? You can't say that they want to collect money but state-owned banks don't, Mr. Han asked. The planning director was speechless for a moment. It's very inspiring, Lu Chengcheng said with a smile. Mr. Han's words really inspired us a lot. Running a city is really a university subject. Lu Ligan thought of something and couldn't help but ask, Mr. Han, do you think that even if it is affected by the Asian financial crisis, our country's economy will still be good next year? Yes, it will continue to improve in the next few decades, Mr. Han said. Lu Chengcheng became interested. He bowed his hand to Mr. Han and said, thank you for your kind words, Mr. Han. I want to know where the basis for your judgment comes from. To be honest, from last year at the beginning of the first half of the year, we saw that domestic demand could not be boosted and various economic indicators were declining. It can be said that our hearts are hanging. Mr. Han thought for a while and began to say. What I'm saying is that everyone from the central to local governments is too rich, has too many resources, and has too much room for maneuver. The process of resource conversion, or in other words, relying on large investments, I'm not just talking about the government. Government investment only plays a leading role and will definitely drive investment from all aspects. I am very opposed to the term government investment. There has never been pure government investment. Government investment is basically just to put up a shelf and make it flesh and blood. Investment in various aspects is also needed. Like your Tianjong new city development, can every building in it be invested and constructed by your government? It doesn't require funds from all aspects, even at the national level. Government investment plays a more important role. It plays the role of policy promotion and investment guidance. There are too many topics like this in mainland China. As long as you choose one, the GDP will rise slowly. This year's housing system reform is one, and there will be others, such as transportation construction, like highways, and now connecting Shanghai to Hangzhou. The highways in the country have not been completed yet. As for building a national highway network, this project is too big and we can do it when we have time. The U.S. Intercontinental Highway Plan, also called the Eisenhower Plan, was in operation from 1956 to 1991. This plan drove the rapid development of the U.S. economy for decades. The same goes for mainland China. In the past few years, the development of Shenzhen and the development of Pudong in recent years have brought much GDP, but these are still limited to a certain region. As I mentioned, the construction of the National Highway Network, the construction of the National Railway Network, the construction of aviation routes and airports, and then the construction of urban transportation in each city. In an area as large as mainland China, each of them is driven by, even if you ask him to look for large-scale economic development projects in other countries, he will not be able to find such large-scale projects. This is what I said. China's economy will definitely have a good foundation for decades. There are too many things that can be done. Thank you for the tip from the third one from top to bottom, 131, on the shore. Thank you for your monthly votes from Weiza 99,999 and Chiyo 16040316353139. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1018. After dinner, Mr. Han and Lu Ligan sent Lu Changcheng and others to the gate below. After watching them get in the car and leave, the two of them went to the lobby bar of Xingqiao Hotel and found a secluded corner to sit down. Mr. Han asked Lu Ligan, "What are your plans for tomorrow's auction?" Lu Ligan carefully introduced the situation of the 3 pieces of land they were interested in to Mr. Han. After listening, Mr. Han asked, "Do you have sufficient funds now?" "Plenty," Lu Ligan said. "Take as much as you can afford. You are right to sort in this way, but don't limit yourself to these 3 pieces. Let me tell you, the price of this land auction will only get higher every time. In addition, now that the door of welfare housing is completely closed, the demand for real estate, what you see now, you think is a special phenomenon, but it is not. It will have such a blowout development. You always remember that the government is not a brand. Behind it are real people like you and me. So the government is not only a high-speed machine, it also has a human side. The desires you have, these there are also local governments. After they taste the sweetness of real estate, they are also unable to stop. People who want to buy houses come in all of a sudden, and the first thing that comes to your mind is, should the price be adjusted?" Lu Ligan smiled and said, "That's true. After I made adjustments, I found that all the real estate developers in Hangzhou had adjusted their prices within 1 day. The same goes for the government," Mr. Han said with a smile. "If this auction succeeds, it will definitely succeed. Where is the demand?" After this success, the Hangzhou city government's appetite has also been whetted. They will auction for the 2nd time. At that time, I guarantee that the starting price will be much higher than this time. The demand you can see, they can also see, so this is an opportunity, take as much as you can." "Okay," Lu Lipol nodded. "Also, your judgment about Jianzhong New City is correct. Next, the Hangzhou city government will invest a lot in Jianzhong New City. What do you think they will do when they get the money? It must be focused on places that can bring political achievements and bring more benefits. The more they invest, the faster the local GDP will grow. Then the larger the size and scope of the locality, the more land it can offer them for auction." "What do you think they will do next?" Mr. Han asked. Lu Ligan thought for a moment and said, "Launch the 2nd or 3rd phase of Jianzhong New City." "Yes," Mr. Han smiled, "since it is development, their development ideas are the same as yours. Compared with them, no matter how big you are just a small developer. They are the big developers." "That's right," Lu Ligan said with a smile. "With this land acquisition and storage center, I feel that they are doing wholesale, and we are doing retail. It's just such a relationship, as long as you understand it." Mr. Han nodded. "Mr. Han, to be honest, when I saw this scene, I still felt a little panicked." Mr. Han asked, "Why are you panicking? Are you worried that this will be a replica of Heiken and another real estate bubble?" "Yes, I am really worried about this," Lu Ligan said. "Your worries are unfounded. These are completely different things. In Hainan, those who are speculating on real estate do not need to buy a house. They are just speculating. However, the current wave is driven by demand and people come to buy houses. They are all people who need housing or improve their housing, and they are far from a bubble. Bubbles will only occur when the market reaches a certain level of saturation and a large amount of funds for real estate speculation enter." Mr. Han concluded, "The entire market has just started to rise. The current demand is the demand that has been suppressed in the past few years. It is a rigid demand and will last for many years." "I understand," Lu Ligan nodded. He remembered something again and asked, "By the way, Mr. Han, I want to ask, why do you suggest that they auction the land at the floor price?" Mr. Han thought for a moment and said to Lu Ligan, "Well, the auction will end tomorrow. I'll tell you again. What you have to remember is to get more land tomorrow and be brave enough to get it. Your land seems to be sky high now, but it probably won't be for a long time. It will be too late for you to regret it by then. Okay, I will. Mr. Han told me so, and I knew it in my heart, Lu Ligan said. The auction on the second day will start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The location of the auction is the World Trade Center located next to the Huanglong Sports Center in Hangzhou. The pavilion here is usually used for various exhibitions, but today it was arranged as an auction venue. There is a huge inflatable arch at the gate, with a red banner reading Hangzhou City's first state-owned land auction hanging on the arch, and the inflatable pump keeps buzzing. The square around the entrance was filled with colorful flags, and 2 huge balloons were floating in the sky above the square. All of this shows how much the Hangzhou city government attaches great importance to this auction. A total of more than 60 real estate companies signed up to participate in the auction, and one of them actually came from Shanghai. This was the first time that a real estate company from outside the city entered Hangzhou, which aroused everyone's interest, and everyone was speculating about the origin of this company. Each company participating in the auction is allowed 3 representatives to enter. Almost all companies have used these 3 quotas. Everyone wants to come and see the first official auction of state-owned land in Hangzhou. After passing the qualification check by the staff, you entered the door. Inside the door was a hall. After passing the door connecting the hall, you will find today's auction venue. The auction had not yet started, so everyone did not enter the venue. Instead, they stood in 2s and 3s in the hall outside, smoking and chatting. Smoking was prohibited in the venue today. In the lobby of the World Trade Center, more than 100 bidders rushed into the auction. In addition, 70 or 80 reporters from the central media to the local media in Hangzhou gathered. Some of them had cameras hanging on their chests, and some with a camera on his shoulder and a microphone in his hand. He was conducting interviews. Hangzhou was the first city in the country to implement land acquisition and storage, bidding, auction, and listing, and to cancel the transfer of land agreements, so it attracted nationwide attention. There are 12 billboards erected around the hall. Each billboard is numbered, with a red line map and text introduction of the plot of land participating in the auction this time. Lu Ligan and the others arrived at 1:40. Lu Ligan, Tan Shahen, and Zhang Chen came as representatives of Zhejiang Jingxia Real Estate Co., Limited. Song Chunming, Lao Tan, and Han Dynasty Emperor Lu Bang came as representatives of Hangzhou Sentai. Representatives from the Real Estate Co., Limited, Zhang Chen, Lao Tan, and Lu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han Dynasty, came to see the excitement. Lu Ligan and the others caused a sensation as soon as they entered the venue. Many real estate developers and local reporters in Hangzhou knew Lu Ligan and knew that when he came, there would be a good show today. In addition, Tan Shahen originally, on such occasions, he will become the center of attention. Everyone came over one after another to say hello to Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen. Some reporters from other places did not know Lu Ligan and Tan Shahen. When they saw that they had come and attracted so much attention, they asked their local colleagues. They told them that this man was the boss of Zhejiang Jingxiu, the same one who had sold the villa. The highest paid person in the country. Is the woman his wife? Someone asked. No, the general managers of their company, these 2, golden boys and girls, are also diamond kings and queens. After saying this, reporters from other places also became interested and pointed their cameras and eyes at them. When Su Wenhui saw Lu Ligan, Tan Shahen, and Zhang Chen, he rushed over with his men. Su Wenhui is now the chief reporter of Hangcheng Daily. Of course, he is indispensable for such a scene. Su Wenhui and Lu Ligan said, "Gangzi, come on, you must reveal something to me first." Lu Ligan raised a piece of paper in his hand. This was sent to them by the staff of the collection and storage center when they entered the venue. The content was a notice to change the bidding method of this auction. Lu Ligan and Su Wenhui said seriously, "You want to know? Okay, then I will tell you that I am strongly dissatisfied with this temporary game-changing approach of the land acquisition and storage center, and I have decided to withdraw from today's auction. Okay, write it down quickly and send it to the newspaper. Big news. Lu Ligan, chairman of Zhejiang Jingxia Real Estate Co., Limited, said that he will withdraw from the auction in protest. Su Wenhui told his men, who immediately took out paper and pen to prepare notes. Lu Li laughed loudly and cursed, "Su Wenhui, you humming want to harm me." He then patted Su Wenhui's men on the shoulders and said, don't remember it, I'm just kidding, brother." Tan Shahan scolded, "You are so boring." Lu Ligan smiled and said, "Yes, Su Wenhui, this can be exclusive, Lu Ligan is a boring person." "Get out," Su Wenhui cursed. He turned around and asked Zhang Chen, "Mr. Zhang, are you here to help him?" Before Zhang Chen said anything, Lu Ligan smiled and said, "Yes, he is afraid that I didn't get a single piece of land, and the loss would be too ugly." "Yes, I'm here for first aid," Zhang Chen said. "Okay, please, you two, when you have something serious to say, I'll come back to you the hell," Su Wenhui scolded. Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen left. A staff member came out of the venue and greeted everyone to enter, shouting loudly. There were numbers posted on the chairs. "Your bidding number is your seat number. Please take your seat according to the number." Lu Ligan and his two companies were arranged in different places. After entering the venue, Lu Ligan and Song Chunming said that they would proceed as we said. Song Chunming nodded and said yes. The two groups separated and each found their own seats. Lu Ligan and the others had agreed in advance that Song Chunming would not hold up his sign for the three numbers they selected, but for the other 9 lots, Song Chunming would keep holding up his sign and raising prices until Zhang Chen called Lao Tan and told him to stop. "Stop again. The auction is about to start. On the rostrum in front of you, there is a wooden table in the middle. It is used by the host to preside over the auction and for the auctioneer to conduct the auction. There are also auction hammers and chassis seats on the table." There was a long row of seats behind the rostrum. Lu Ligan almost laughed when he saw the people filing into the rostrum. The row of people sitting there were the people who attended the dinner last night. Lu Chengcheng sat at the end. In the middle, Mr. Han is sitting on his right, and on his left are the director of the Municipal Government Office and the 3 directors of the Planning, Land Management, and Construction Bureau, sitting on both sides in turn. Director Chu is sitting on the far left, and he is still the host today. I don't know whether it was arranged intentionally or unintentionally. Lu Ligan, Tan Shahan, and Zhang Chen were seated in the first row, next to the company from Shanghai. Lu Ligan couldn't say hello, so after Zhang Chen sat down, he raised his hand towards Lu Chengcheng and Mr. Han and said hello, and both of them nodded towards him. "Thank you book friend 201811241834235518 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1019. The auction officially begins. The auctioneer introduces the auction, which adopts the method of floor price. Each bid increase is 20 yuan. Bidders can bid directly in multiples of 20. When the auctioneer calls out, the bidder's bidding begins, and the highest bidder will be the buyer of the land. This auction is a reserve price auction. When the reserve price starts, if the auctioneer calls out the price 3 times and no bidder raises his placard, the lot will be deemed a failed auction. For each price, the auctioneer calls out the price 3 times. The first piece of land to be auctioned is the number 1 piece of land in this auction, the piece of land in Qianzhong New Town. Lu Ligan looked at the information in his hand and was slightly startled. He saw that this land was stipulated as a high-rise building with more than 19 floors. According to national regulations, the allowed floor area ratio was 2.4-4.5. This time it was based on 3.2 calculation. It is far less than the total construction area of 500,000 square meters originally expected by Lou Ligon and others, but it is still more than 384,000 square meters. The starting price was 360. Three people immediately raised their placards. The auctioneer raised the price to 380. These three people still raised their placards. Lou Ligon was sitting there with Tan Shahen and Zhang Chen. Tan Shahen took out a calculator from her bag and put it on her knees. The auctioneer shouted 400 yuan. At this time, two more companies participated, and the price immediately reached 420 yuan. The five people still raised their placards. Tan Shahen calculated that the land price, including taxes and construction costs, was almost 1,000 yuan per square meter, which was equivalent to the selling price of Tianfa Garden. 500 yuan, Lou Ligon raised the sign with number 32 and shouted. There was a commotion immediately in the auction house. You must know that the land price of this land has reached 200 million. The row of people on the stage all had smiles on their faces. 500 yuan a time, the auctioneer shouted. The bid is 500 yuan on the 32nd. Is there any increase in price? This is the core land of Qianzhong New City. The auctioneer's shout caused a burst of sarcastic laughter in the venue. Qianzhong New Town has been built for almost 2 years and is still in a state of desolation. The idea of this core land parcel sounds a bit funny. 500 yuan twice, the auctioneer shouted. This time, he was too embarrassed to add any more complimentary words. He also felt in his heart that even a 500 yuan auction was pretty good. Number 7, who had held up the sign in front, raised the sign and shouted, 520 yuan. There was a commotion in the venue. Come on, the gentleman on the 7th is bidding 520 yuan, the 32nd, the gentleman on the 32nd, do you want to add more? The auctioneer got excited and looked at Lou Ligon and asked. Lou Ligon held up the sign, 600. The venue applauded. 230 million. This piece of land was auctioned for 230 million. After everyone clicked on the calculator in their hands, they were all a little stunned. 600 plus auction commission plus tax. The cost of construction and installation has already reached 1,200 yuan. Qianzhong New Town, a place where nothing is shit, costs 1,200 yuan, so what money can be made? It takes more than 10 minutes to walk from there to the nearest bus stop. Who would buy a house there? Although everyone knows that after the development of Qianzhong New City is completed, buses will definitely be available, but that will have to wait for the development. Completed, the question is when will the development be completed? 600 yuan a time, the auctioneer called, scanning the venue. 600 yuan twice, number 7, do you want more for no 7? The auctioneer looked at number 7 and asked, number 7 shook his head. 600 yuan 3. The auctioneer dragged out the 3 words for a long time, raised the auction hammer with his right hand, and scanned the venue again to confirm that no one would raise the price again. 600 yuan, deal. No 32, the auctioneer made the final decision with his right hand and pointed in the direction of Lou Lepole with his left hand. The row of people on the stage took the lead in applauding. Immediately, a staff member came over with the auction transaction confirmation and asked Lou Ligon to sign, and Lou Ligon signed. The second lot is being auctioned. This is a piece of land located in Kai, an old residential area in Hangzhou. This piece of land covers an area of 15,000 square meters. It allows the construction of an 18-story high-rise with a floor area ratio of 2.0. The entire project is also just 30,000 square meters. The starting price was 820 yuan. Song Chunming raised the price from the beginning, and he and other bidders raised the price all the way up to 960 yuan. It was already the price they had set. Song Chunming took a look at it. Old Tan shook his head. Zhang Chen hadn't called him yet. Song Chunming had no choice but to continue lifting up. Lao Tan stretched his neck and looked forward, but none of the three people looked back. When it reached 1020 yuan, Lao Tan was still quiet. Song Chunming could only shout 1040 yuan. The guy who was competing with him did not raise his sign again. For this piece of land, Song Chunming paid 3 yuan. The total price was 11.2 million yuan. The third piece of land was in Qiwen. As soon as Song Chunming raised the sign, Lu Ligan told Zhang Chen to call Lao Tan and give up on this piece of land. Why? Tan Shahen asked. We are not going to Qiwen, Lu Ligan said. Tan Shahen looked at him doubtfully, but Zhang Chen understood that Lu Ligan was thinking of Xiao Wu. Wang Chao's project was in Qiwen, where they hid De Zhuang's body. Lu Ligan was going to stay away from there. Zhang Chen called Lao Tan. The fourth piece of land was multi-story, and even Song Chunming did not raise a sign. This was something they had discussed in the company. For the three pieces of multi-story land, they did not participate in the bidding. The fifth piece of land is in Huanglong, not far from the venue. It is a high-rise building with more than 19 floors. The floor area ratio is also 3.2. The construction area is 113,000 square meters. The bidding starts at 800. When Lao Tan and Song Chunming saw Lu Ligan, they also raised the price. The card is up, which means that to win this land, tactical coordination is required. After Lu Ligang raised the card once, he did not raise it again. Song Chunming and other families continued to kill all the way up. When the number of kills exceeded 1,000, only 3 families were left. One family shouted 1020 and remained silent. Lu Ligan, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly shouted $1,100. The total price of this piece of land has reached more than 120 million yuan. One family cowered. Another family called for 1,120 yuan. Song Chunming called for 1,140 yuan. The other family was waiting. He judged that Lu Ligan would directly call 1,002. When the auctioneer called for the first time, the 3 people from the company were unmoved. They knew that Lu Ligan would definitely bid at the end. When the auctioneer called for the second time, one of the 3 people was ready to raise his placard, and the other 2 people said wait. 1,140 yuan third? The auctioneer called out in a long tone. Someone in that company was about to raise the placard, but suddenly saw Lu Ligan's hand raised, and quickly put it down. When they saw that Lu Ligan was holding something other than a number, instead, they stretched out their hands with a piece of white paper. They wanted to lift it again, but it was too late. The auctioneer's hammer has fallen, dealed. 1,140 yuan, no 19. Song Chunming won another piece of land. The 6th piece of land was the one near Splendid Home, and the bidding started at 800. This time Lu Ligan changed his strategy. As soon as the auctioneer said the start, Lu Ligan shouted, 900. Someone just shouted 902. Before he finished speaking, Lu Ligan shouted, 1,000. 1,002. Lu Ligan, 1,001. 1,001. 1,002. Lu Lipol shouted. Those people knew that Lu Ligan was determined to win, so they gave up. The land was sold for $1,002 in the shortest possible time. The 7th and 8th rounds were all multi-level, and neither Lu Ligan nor Song Chunming raised their cards. From the 9th to the 11th, Lu Ligan always used the method of directly reaching the integer of 100 as soon as someone shouted, and continued to fight all the way. Someone behind them shouted, "Boss Lu, please leave some soup for us too." Lu Ligan smiled, unmoved, and continued to kill like this. He felt very happy in his heart, as if he had returned to the baccarat table. He just played or bankrolled all the way, and took down all 3 pieces of land. The auction has come to an end, and there is still the last piece of land left, which is the piece of Wuhan. This is the highlight of today's auction. Everyone knows what a house next to the West Lake means. This piece of land is allowed to be built with 12 floors. The floor area ratio is 1.8, and the construction area is only 25,000 square meters, but it is not small when placed next to the West Lake. If it weren't for the fact that Wuhan was behind it and some were dug into it, the land wouldn't be so big, and it wouldn't be possible to build it up to 12 stories. It can be said that this is the tallest house by the West Lake. Everyone is optimistic that whoever takes it will make a high-quality product. The starting price of this piece of land is 1,080. As soon as the auctioneer said it would start, more than 24 people raised their cards, and the price immediately went up, reaching 3,070. At that time, there were still 5 families left. 4,000. A voice rang out. The Shanghai company sitting next to Lu Ligan and the others, who had been sitting quietly throughout the auction, suddenly shouted out their prices. It seemed that they were aiming for the auction today. It comes from this piece of land in Wuhan. As soon as the sound of 4,000 came out, the entire venue fell into silence. The auctioneer deliberately lengthened the interval. He was looking at the 5 houses that were still quoting in front of them. Sure enough, someone quoted 4,001. 4,005, the Shanghai company shouted. 4,005 times. The auctioneer said that no one dared to raise the price anymore. Everyone could raise it. This Shanghai company probably didn't know the market situation in that place. The floor price of 4,500 yuan was going to be a loss. Tan Shahen clicked on the calculator. She felt that these people had gone crazy. This price has caught up with the housing prices nearby, Tan Shahen muttered, and the person next to her smiled at her. 4,005 second. 5,000, Lu Ligan shouted before the auctioneer finished speaking. Are you crazy? Tan Shahen cursed softly. 5,005, shouted the Shanghai company. 6,000, Lu Ligan said. 6,005. 7,000. The venue was buzzing with excitement. Every time Lu Ligan shouted, everyone else present shouted hello. Everyone felt the murderous intent of the Shanghai company. At this time, they applauded Lu Ligan to pin the hopes of the entire Hangzhou city. On his part, I hope he can fight this foreign company out. The auctioneer was also dumbfounded. The 2 men were shouting like this, as if nothing happened to him. After discussing with each other, the 3 people from the Shanghai company raised their placards. 7,005. Lu Ligan still wanted to raise the sign, but Tan Shahen took his hand and whispered, "Please don't begrudge, please." Lu Ligan suddenly felt that his hand was empty. The sign in his hand was gone. When he looked again, it was already in Zhang Chen's hand. 10,000, Zhang Chen raised the card. There was a boom explosion in the venue. Tan Shahen was dumbfounded. Lu Ligan laughed loudly. The auctioneer was stunned for a moment before he woke up and asked, "Number 32, how much did you say?" 10,000, Zhang Chen said. The 3 Shanghai Nessa looked at each other and shook their heads. One of them gave Zhang Chen and the others a thumbs up. "Friends, stick together. Friends, awesome." After the auctioneer shouted 3 times, he announced that the land had been sold at a floor price of 10,000 yuan per square meter, which was the highest price in the country. The entire auction house burst into applause, and Tan Shahen cursed. "Zhang Chen, you should never have been allowed to come." Yes, drive him out now," Lu Ligan said with a smile. "Thank you to Dal Tin Soldier and RIRI Shushu for the reward. Thank you Yuengzi, Big Fat 1979, Wooden Man, and book friends 201904121548362008 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1020. Director Chu had not yet announced the end of the auction, and Lu Ligan was still signing the auction transaction confirmation form for the staff. The reporters gathered around, the flashlight kept flashing, the shutter clicked one after another, and an interview microphone was stretched out. At this time, when Director Chu saw that the venue below was already in chaos, he quickly announced that the auction was over. Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan were dizzy and didn't want to say anything more. Tan Shehen had not yet fully recovered from the shock. She pushed away the microphone that was stretched out in front of her. The three people quickly got up, squeezed through the crowd and walked outside. When they got to the car outside, Lu Ligan was about to start the car when the door opened. Su Wenhui got into the back seat and sat next to Zhang Chen. Su Wenhui shouted, "Awesome, awesome, you guys have exploded again." "What the hell, these two lunatics," Tan Shehen, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, cursed. Lu Ligan shook his head and smiled. He started the car and turned onto Shuguang Road. He drove along Shuguang Road to the end of Stadium Road. He drove to the construction site in the center of Hangzhou and turned left. When he arrived at Huanchen North Road, he turned right. And then drive forward along the wall of the construction site in the center of Hangzhou, you will find the dynamic zone. Lu Ligan parked the car downstairs in the dynamic zone. The four of them got out of the car, went upstairs, and walked into Zhang Chen's office. Xiao Zhao heard them coming back next door, so he hurried over and asked, "How is it going?" Tan Shehen almost cried and shouted bitterly, "I bought a piece of land that is extremely expensive." "How many?" 10,000 square meters. Xiao Zhao was shocked, "That's more than 6 million per acre, so expensive." "Where is 10,000, the land price is equivalent to 12 million per acre, and that piece of land costs 250 million, Tan Shehen said. "Ah," Xiao Zhao exclaimed, "it's so expensive, what are you going to build?" "A palace." Xiao Zhao looked at Su Wenhui with some disbelief. Su Wenhui nodded, confirming that the price was correct and that Tan Shehen was right. Xiao Zhao thought to herself that it must be Lu Lizan who went crazy. There were many people at the scene, so he was impulsive. She said to Zhang Chen, "Gangzi will go crazy, and you will go crazy too. Why don't you stop him?" "Did he stop it?" Tan Shehen snorted, "It was this great hero who raised a sign and called out the price of 10,000. Lu Ligan and Su Wenhui laughed. Song Chunming, Lao Tan, and Han Jiaozulu Bang came in. Their faces didn't look very good. Along the way, they couldn't figure out how to come up with a price of 10,001 square meters. Tan Shehen looked at Zhang Chen and Lu Ligan and said, "Okay, now that everyone is here, answer Xiao Zhao's question, what can be built on such expensive land?" Lu Ligan said lightly, "Build a house worth 20,000 square meters and sell it." 20,000 per square meter, who are you selling it to? Tan Shehen asked. Peach Blossom Spring opened for sale at 9,800 yuan. Aren't you also worried that no one will buy it? How is the sale going now? Lu Ligan said, "I finally figured this house out. As long as you dare to sell it, someone will buy it." Unreasonable. Tan Shehen shook her head and cursed. When Lao Tan saw Zhang Chen sitting aside, he knew that Zhang Chen was not an impulsive person. He must have had some considerations when he raised the sign. Lao Tan asked Zhang Chen, "What do you think?" Zhang Chen said, "It's very simple. After the auction, it is no longer a simple sale of land, but a battle for status. So many reporters came, and everyone is watching who is the boss of Hangzhou real estate. Who is the real king? They come here from Shanghai with such force. If we can't hold the pole here, we will lose everything. Is this a matter of winning or losing? Tan Shahen asked. Of course, that posture is about comparing wins and losses. It doesn't matter if you lose, just pat your butt and go back to Shanghai. Can you afford to lose? If you lose, it won't be a piece of land, but your entire company reputation, your corporate image, so this battle must be won and there is no retreat, Zhang Chen said. Zhang Chen is right, this is true, Su Wenhui said. Starting tonight, all the media will definitely report on this auction. If the report comes out, it will be said that the most expensive piece of land today was bought by a Shanghai family. What the real estate company takes away will indeed have a great impact on your position as the leader in the real estate industry in Hangzhou. Lao Tan and Han Emperor Liu Bang nodded and agreed with Su Wenhui and Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said, moreover, I suspect that this is the way the Shanghai company is preparing to enter Hangzhou. Why do they dare to raise prices? They have no interest in other places at all, so they focus on this piece of land. They just hope to concentrate their efforts and use this piece of land to become famous in one battle. Yes, that's true. I really didn't expect this, but now that I think about it, it's true, Lu Ligan shouted. Tan Shahen also felt that what Zhang Chen said made sense, and her face improved a little. She thought to herself that the reason why her company's house is in Hangzhou is easier to sell than others and has a good reputation is because it is the number one in Hangzhou. To make people trustworthy, if a foreign company takes away the title as soon as it comes in, it will have a great impact on your own company. In order to keep the title of number one in Hangzhou, this project is worth it even if it does not make money. However, the land price has been raised too high. Now it is no longer a matter of making money, but how to reduce the loss. Even if what you said is right, it's not necessary. Just go from 7,000 to 10,000, Tan Shahen said. I'm here to give you a heads up, so that it can be a deterrent. If they follow their method of raising money, you can raise it to 500 and he can raise 500 to 20,000, Zhang Chen said. People are like this, you want thinking about it, I've already bid 11,000, but it's only 500 more expensive. What am I afraid of? He will definitely keep adding more. When it reaches 18,000, he will not think about that 18,000, but will think that it is only 500 more expensive. If two people compete with this idea, the price will rise all the way. When it comes to the end, it is not shouting. The high prices at auctions are all shouted out like this. I shouted from 7,000 to 10,000, which disrupted their rhythm and their thoughts. It was 3,000 more expensive all of a sudden. It was a wake-up call and they had to think calmly. Okay, so far, Zhang Chen is right, Su Wenhui said, I will write out the essence of it. From now on until the project is launched, that place will be the focus of Hangzhou. Fortunately, it is a room with a view of West Lake. This geographical advantage cannot be copied. The key lies in how to do it. If it is done well, I don't think so. That's right, there are people buying 20,000 square meters. There are always some people who want to spend money to show off and enjoy the feeling of an emperor, Zhang Chen said. Okay, heroes think alike, Lu Ligan said, let's build a house of 20,100 square meters for people to see. I have already thought of a name. Su Wenhui, you can write this in the report. That place is much more expensive than all your Jinxius, so don't name it after Jinxiu. It must have a unique name. A domineering name is indispensable for Westlake. I think it should be called Westlake Throne, Zhang Chen said. Throne of Westlake? Okay, this is a good name, Lu Ligan shouted. He looked at Lao Tan and the others and asked, what do you think? Lao Tan, Han Emperor Liu Bang and Song Chunming all nodded. Tan Shahen sighed. The deal is done, so let's work hard. Maybe they can really use this auction and this project to once again enhance the reputation of their company. The increase in the company's reputation will benefit all their projects. Thinking of this, Tan Shahen also became happy. In today's auction, there were 12 pieces of land, and they, splendid land and Sentai real estate, won 8 of them. Of course, they had to celebrate. Mr. Han did not have time for dinner. Lu Chengcheng and the others held such a successful auction today, and they also wanted to celebrate. Of course, Mr. Han was indispensable for the celebration dinner, but it was not convenient for Lu Ligan to attend. Lu Ligan and the others were at Tianxiang Tower. It was past 9 o'clock after they had eaten. Lu Ligan called Mr. Han. Mr. Han told Lu Ligan that he had just returned to the hotel. Lu Ligan asked, "How is it? Come out for some exercise." Mr. Han said yes. "I'll pick you up later and call you downstairs," Lu Ligan said. Mr. Han said okay. After hanging up the phone, Lu Ligan chuckled and said to Tan Shahen, "Mr. Han and I still have something to discuss." Tan Shahen rolled her eyes at him and cursed, "If you want to call me miss, just call me miss. Isn't it just a matter of drinking and singing together? It's not a big deal. Why are you shy?" Everyone in the box laughed, and Zhang Chen said, "I won't go to the KTV." Xiao Zhao said, "Go, Mr. Han is here. I'm sorry if you don't go to accompany me. Remember, if you want to call a lady, call her a prettier one, otherwise you will lose money." The people in the box laughed again. Everyone went downstairs. Tan Shahen and Xiao Zhao left, and went back to look at Xiang Nan and Xiang Bei. Su Wenhui, Lao Tan, Song Chunming, and Han Emperor Lu Bang went to Mood for Love first. On the way, Han Emperor Lu Bang thought that Lin Shuwen was also in Hangzhou, so he called Lin Shuwen. He told Lao Tan that Shuwen was the best at adjusting the atmosphere. When Lin Shuwen heard about this, she shouted, okay, brother Lu, I'll come over right away. I'll accompany my brother." Lu Ligan and Zhang Chen went to Xingqiao Hotel. Mr. Han was already waiting for them on the sofa on the first floor. When he saw them, Mr. Han shouted, "Congratulations, Mr. Lu, you're on the right track to victory. At the last moment, I was really worried that you would retreat, but luckily you didn't. Mr. Zhang, your tactics are good. You jumped high and sealed the price instantly. Mr. Han, don't you think the price is too expensive?" Zhang Chen asked, still feeling a little unsure. "This house by the West Lake is a scarce resource, just like a cultural relic. Don't worry, it will only increase in value year by year. If it has just been built and your price market is not acceptable, don't buy it and just rent it. The entire project, there are only about 100 houses, and they are still good to rent. Wait until the price rises and reaches your psychological goal, and then start selling," Mr. Han said. Hearing what Mr. Han said, Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Lu Ligan nodded and felt that Mr. Han's idea was good. It could be the same as when he was preparing to build the Peach Blossom Spring Villa. He just made up his mind to build it slowly and sell it slowly, without rushing. The three of them got in the car and went to Mood for Love together. As soon as they entered the box and saw Lin Shuwen, Lu Ligan, and Zhang Chen both laughed. Yes, how could they forget her? Lin Shuwen and Zhang Chen said, "Brother, tonight, they can all call me little sister, but you don't allow it? I have to watch you for Xiao Zhao." Lu Ligan smiled and said, "Then who is looking at you?" "My brother," Lin Shuwen said. "Thank you for the reward of Why I Can't Change My Name, ranked third from top to bottom, and 131 on the shore. Thank you Huaxin Yongxiao, V, Cheng Shanming, bronze, 1890-798-3117, Zipanjiang 1, Tianying 1978, Chu Changjun, Weiza 99,999 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone.